Hello and welcome back to Kent's Counterpoint. I'm the author Kent Anderson from Oslo, Norway, and today we are going to talk about the savior of us all, COP29, the big climate meeting in Azerbaijan, of all places, in Baku. And 50,000 people, or 40,000, 50,000 people was flown into Azerbaijan to save the planet. But this time they were not talking about cutting CO2 emissions. That was not the issue. Neither was the issue to cut fossil fuel production, because that has actually never been the issue in the climate top meetings. The issue today was money. A lot of money. Money. And all the people wanted more money. Your money. Because it's the Western countries that has ruined the climate, and that means that all the developing countries are suffering under the climate crisis. And to compensate for that, so they can build, climate solutions and climate measures, we have to pay. You have to pay. It's your problem. And they demanded, they demanded a lot of money. Now, in 2009, it was decided on that COP meeting that, we're gonna give the developing countries $100 billion. $100 billion. We have to build up this fund, $100 billion that is taken from Western developed countries and given to the developing countries so they can, be compensated for our sins. And first in 2022, they actually reached this goal. So $100 billion, but that's not enough, because when it comes to climate and environmental issues, it's never enough. I mean, it's never, ever enough. Whatever you do, you will never reach your goal, because they will never be pleased with you, because you will always have to give more, all right? You will always have to go a bit further. They will always want more. And now they really wanted more. Not $100 billion every year. Now they wanted $1,300 billion every year for the next 10 years until 2035, okay? So they wanted $1,300 billion every year from Western countries until 2035. Until 2035. And that is where they got that number from, I don't know. Because I just think they actually said, how much money do we need? Well, as much as possible. So let's just take a number and pick a number, and we know we won't get that. But if the stakes are high, if you start high, you will probably end up with more than if you start low, right? If they demanded $200 billion a year, they would probably get 150. All right, so $1,300 billion a year, and they reached an agreement at COP29. All these 50,000 people that is involved in this. And they reached a conclusion almost a full day after they should, where they agreed that developed countries like United States and EU and my country Norway is going to contribute with at least $300 billion every year. So that's 3 times as much as they had. And the second point was that the whole world will have to, that's not enough. So the whole world will have to contribute and work for $1,300 billion every year up to 2035. So they want more, 2035. So they want more and more money, okay? It's not enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. And the developed countries, they should join in and participate in this financing, like developing countries that are very poor, like India and China, that has their own space program worth billions of dollars. But, they're poor. So, yeah, they need your money, right? Because you're rich, right? We're rich. The Western countries are rich. So yeah. Now, these money that's going to be given, they can be donated as just private investments or loans or just common aid, money aid. And there is nothing, you can use them for anything, anyhow, just, so they're going to cut just to cure the climate change and the climate crisis that we're into now, if we're in a climate crisis. Yeah. But who's going to actually check that these developing countries, that's not always very democratic and not always very orderly, who is controlling and checking that they actually use the money for climate measures? No one. I'll get back to that. Okay, hang on. They did not vote on or decide on who of the Western countries is going to contribute with what. Okay, just $300 billion every year the next 10 years. All right, but who's going to give what? Well, we'll figure that out later. Okay, and everyone knows that the United States probably is gonna pull out from the Paris Accord. Probably. So they won't give money. So that means that actually all the other Western countries will have to give more. So that's going to be an interesting discussion, which you will not participate in because you're just the one who's going to pay, right? Yeah. India was very, very cross about this, of course. Just, $300 billion is nothing, She was, the Indian Chandri Raina said that we don't take this challenge seriously enough, and it's pathetic. She called the sum pathetic. $300 billion every year was pathetic, right? And Ali Muhammad, that led the contribution from Kenya, he was very disappointed. He was very disappointed over the lack of progress on behalf of Africa. He was talking for all of Africa because they want more money. Just can't seem to handle money. They can't get enough money. They want more money. Your money, right? And then everything will be hunky-dory in Africa. Yeah, right. It's too little and too late. So, no one was actually pleased with this $300 billion. And that's why they actually decided that, okay, this is not enough. So we have to increase it. The next 10 years, we have to increase it and work for increasing it up to $1,300 billion every year, right? So now, why are Western countries obliged to pay developing countries climate money? I mean, they get aid, ban aid, and everyone just give them money, feed them, let them know it's Christmas, everything. Oh yeah, we're going to help everyone, and we give an aid. There's already a lot of aid going to these countries, right? Okay, billions of dollars are going to this country, but strangely enough, it's not enough. They need more money of your money, yeah, and that probably gonna continue forever. And what are the assumptions? What is this climate debt that it's called? Because we, the Western countries, the rich Western countries, we have climate debt because we have used hydrocarbons, and we have ruined the climate, and they are suffering because of this, right? So the assumption is that we have actually destroyed the climate with our industrial revolution, right? When we started to use coal and oil and gas and everything. And the assumption then must be that we shouldn't have done that. That was a bad industrial revolution. Shouldn't have done it. Should have stayed in the Middle Ages. Ox carts and what? Would that help? I mean, What? And yeah, we started the Industrial Revolution and started to use hydrocarbons, which was far better than windmills and ox carts and donkeys going around in a circle, pulling the millstone. And now, the assumption is that now the world is threatened by extreme weather. There's been a lot of more extreme weather, but actually what it has been is a lot of more news flashes about extreme weather. That is called climate problems, right? But the fact that they are calling this and is reporting a lot of these floods and thunderstorms and hurricanes and everything, and say that this is the climate crisis, that doesn't actually mean it's true, does it? I mean, that's a bit sneaky. Because if you look at the numbers, actually the number of hurricanes isn't increasing that much, is it? And every flood, there's always been floods. So the flood in Italy, was called the climate catastrophe. But if you look at the newspapers from Italy, they actually say that, well, it was caused because they had teared down the dams because of environmental issues, and the dams couldn't hold the water back, so the floods, yeah. And you can read a bit about such things all the time. So that's an assumption that's not necessarily absolutely true. And poor people in developing countries are more threatened by climate crisis than us. Why? I don't know. Because if the climate is crisis and the whole world is melting down, then it will probably hit every one of us. But anyway, we have to pay for the damage we have put on others, and this is sneaky, because they adapted our use of fossil fuels, didn't they? They adapted the Western Industrial Revolution, did they? We didn't force them. Did we? Did we force India and Africa to use hydrocarbons and drive cars and industrial farming? No, we didn't. They wanted it. And we gave them the technology. We invented everything. We gave them the technology. They adopted it. And it is feeding Africa. It's feeding the enormous population of Asia our inventions. With, modern industrial farming, which makes enormous crops. And without it, they would starve to death. So what are we actually owing them? Why do we owe them anything? Why? Why can't anyone actually ask that question? Is that mean? Is that bad to ask that question? Excuse me, but yeah, we did the Industrial Revolution, and you can stop. You can stop, if the developing countries don't want to adopt our lifestyle and our way of organizing our society with hydrocarbons and a lot of use of energy, then don't. But they want more of that. They want more of our culture, of our technology, of our energy use. They want more of everything. And we have to pay for it. Why? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, does this really work? Does it really work? The assumption is that if we build enough windmills, if we build enough wind farms and solar farms and everything, and we stop using hydrocarbons, we can stop using hydrocarbons, and we can, everything can be powered by electricity. Does that really work? Where has that worked? Give me one example of a test of many years with a proper society that is cut off from every hydrocarbon on Earth. Give me one example of a long-term experiment with the green shift. Just one example, but you can't. Because the green shift has never been tested out in small scale. Never. Ever. They assume it will work, but they can't prove it. So instead of testing it in a small country or an island or a city, we cut off everything. No hydrocarbons for you. Everything is going to be electricity from wind farms and from solar farms. Everything. That's it. 5 years you have to manage. If you starve to death, you starve to death, right? It's never been tried. So instead of testing that in small scale, they're doing it big scale, enormous. That's the plan, and that is a very, very dangerous experiment. Yeah, very dangerous. So these assumptions that this assumption that it's our fault that if we give the money it will solve the problem is actually false, because it's impossible to prove. The climate measures doesn't work. The green shift is impossible. You just have to pull out a calculator and try to calculate how much money and how much resources and how much electricity you have to make to replace all the hydrocarbons, and you will find that the answer is actually burning giraffe. It's that crazy, but still it's going to try. And that is actually proof that this is not about science, it's not about facts, it's not about mathematics, it's not about economics. It's just about money and power. Moving money from you and the power from you to everyone, to poor countries and other regimes. And that's not necessarily something you need to like. It's actually legal to say, no, stop, this is enough, this is enough. You have to do with what you got. But there is actually one sector that is even more dangerous about donating $100 billion, which is now up to $300 billion, which is going to be from 2025, to regimes in other poor countries and developing countries that are not always very uncorrupt or democratic. And that thing is actually control. Okay? Control. Who's going to control this money and what it's used for? Huh? Who's controlling that? Because there's going to be given $300 billion plus every year from you to poor people in developing countries, but there's not going to be any control with the money, right? There is no accounting, no auditing of the money. There is no international bureau or anything, or some department that can go into these countries that are, of course, autonomous and go in and say, well, okay, we're going to audit every money you got and see what you used them for. You can't, because these are countries with governments that can say no. So there's no auditing, there's no accounting for it. And there is no one who can actually control that. If you give some of this money to like an African dictator and his regime, that is actually going to use the money for making climate measures like wind power and solar panels and making measures for stopping the climate crisis. Nothing. He can actually just take the money and say thank you. And yes, we're going to make a report that says this is what we have done for the climate, and use all the money for, enriching his secret police, controlling the citizens. He can use weapons and go to war in a neighbor country with your money. He can use them for anything. Who can stop it? And last but not least, no one can actually call the money back. If they're not used properly, right? If the money you're going to give from COP29 is donated, And well, they seems like you got $300 million, you got $300 billion from us, and what have you used them for? No, we didn't use them for anything. We just wasted them in corruption, and we bought our friends, and I bought a big yacht and everything. Well, we want our money back. Well, that's impossible. So there is no control. There is no control of the money flow, because that's just going to increase, and there's no control how the money is used. And this is actually meddling in other countries' power structures, because you can't give away money without give away power. If there's a dictator sitting on top of a shithole country, and he's getting money from the UN to control, to do climate measures, then it's a black hole. And don't take my word for this, that this can happen, because this has happened with the World Bank. There was a report just some weeks ago, which no mainstream media has actually talked very much about, but it's out there on the internet, and you can just check it out. The World Bank of UN has lost $41 billion. That's $41 billion gone. No one can say where they are. No one can say where they left, what it's used for. It's just disappear from the accounting. It's true. Because there's no control. And, that should actually mean that the World Bank is, let's abolish it. It was started in 1947, and every country, pays into the World Bank. They are owners from how much they pay in, and the money's gone. Not all the money, but $41 billion is a pretty lot of money. And now they're going to put in $300 billion every year into the climate measures, and that's a very lot of money with no control. So every climate fiasco the last 35 years has been met with the same argument from the activists. Let's do more. If it doesn't work, let's up the ante and use more energy and more money on the same thing. If the wind power doesn't work like it should, let's build more wind turbines. And that is a very, very strange behavior. Because what it actually should do is that, well, it doesn't work. And the climate hysteria has been going on for like 35 years, and nothing is achieved. Nothing. The CO2 emissions has been going steadily up all the way, which shows that it doesn't really work. And now we have 5 years left until we're going to be halfway to the emission cuts, and that's bullshit. It's bullshit, But the numbers say this is bullshit. But what the climate politicians say, well, then we have to use more of your money. We have to do even more. All the time. Because this is not about climate. This is not about climate. It's not about science. It's not about math. It's not about economics. It's just about money, more money from you to them, whoever earns on this. That is what the climate crisis is about. I'm Kent Anderson, the author from Norway, and I hope you follow my channel and subscribe to my channel. We are building up. I've been doing this in Norwegian for like 3 years now, and we decided to do it in English and try to get an English audience, because one of my books is going to be translated into English. We're going to talk more about this. But please subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me, because I'm going to talk a lot about more. Thank you.